This week, we're reading The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood, otherwise known as My Tenderloins.
Hi, readers. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Katie.
And welcome to Not Another Heroine, Season 2, the podcast where we break down the best and worst fictional heroines of any genre. Because that's what we do now.
Want to see what's next on our TBR list? Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Instagram for a sneak peek at upcoming content or to help us pick our next book.
We left off at a very dirty auditorium scene.
Slightly uncomfortable one. I will say that all of the cute relationship scenes that follow this, I love more and more each as it goes. What is the next one after the auditorium? It's the...
I get these kind of confused because they have so many Starbucks dates.
Yeah.
And actually, that is a good segue for me to talk about one of my points that I disliked about this book.
Your little beefs.
My little beefs. Little tiny little tenderloins. Tenderloins.
Tenderloins.
Oh my God.
My tenderloins.
Okay, so they do their Starbucks 10 o'clock meetups every week for a couple weeks in a row. And one of the cute little things that go back and forth is the fact that Adam drinks like black coffee, eats vegetables, doesn't like chocolate, doesn't like sweet stuff, doesn't eat junk food. Meanwhile, Olive lives on pumpkin spice frappuccinos and muffins and chips and all of the candy in the world.
Yep.
Now, that's fine.
Uh-oh.
That is okay because, one, that food tends to be cheap, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so a theme throughout is the fact that Olive is fucking broke because she makes zero money. She like commutes on a bike and has no time. So she's living on basically vending machines and cheap food that she can like scrounge from picnics.
Mm-hmm.
However,
uh-oh.
So it's mentioned kind of offhand a couple points throughout the book, the fact that Olive likes to run and she runs races and marathons. And also Adam likes to run races and marathons. I'm like, oh, what a convenient way to find a connection point between these two characters.
Yeah.
But marathons are fucking expensive.
Really?
Yeah. So an average race fee is anywhere from like $70 to $200, depending on like what you're registering for.
Excuse me.
Like Ragnar was $130 fucking a person for, and that's a 12-person team.
Would there be like subsidies through the school?
Yeah, there's like some discounts you can, but like on average, that's what you're paying as like a race fee.
What the fuck?
That gives you your cute little medal and your t-shirt and your race bib.
Yeah.
So that kind of didn't jive with me, the fact that she's this dirt poor college student, but she somehow has the time to train and run marathons and the money to like do that. Because it's not just the money to like register, it's the money to like have decent running shoes.
That is true.
And gear.
Because I think there's even a line that she says she does 2 marathons a year.
Yeah. And like, okay, fine. Like that's only 2, but that's still, if you are starving and you are eating free food at picnics to like supplement your diet, like why would you dump money into racing like that?
Yeah. I never thought about that. I'm obviously not a runner.
Okay. So it was my pet peeve because I don't like calling myself a runner because I feel like that's a certain breed of human.
The little pretension behind it.
It's a little pretentious, and like I do races occasionally as like I need to like hold myself accountable to a standard.
Yeah.
But like the people who love to race and who live for it, like it's another animal.
Yeah. Because I almost feel a little bit like it, not a mental illness. That is not what I mean.
I would agree.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of that rides the line of maybe you should calm down and look at the reasons why you're doing this. Like, maybe a little bit unhealthy sometimes, but neither here nor there. Maybe I'm only talking about the TikTok, Instagram ones.
Yeah, for sure. But
yeah, but I never thought about that because she definitely says that she runs 2 marathons a year and she's like embarrassed about her toes or whatever.
And she's
same, but not because of marathon running.
There's also like a fucking ridiculous line later in the book, right around the 65% mark, where she's like embarrassed at how concave her stomach is. And I'm like,
yeah.
You're, really? Really? Are you really embarrassed?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you really embarrassed? Yeah. Really? Yeah. Are you really embarrassed? Yeah. Really? 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 Yeah. Really to eating potato chips and candy all day, every day. Like, also, if that's what you're like subsisting on, like, how do you feel good enough to like work out and run regularly?
You're popping my bubble here. Damn.
Sorry.
Let me live in ignorance. No, but 100%, that's a very valid fact.
Anyway, that's probably my biggest issue, I think, is
That's
just
fair.
that mischaracterization.
Yeah. No, that's 100% reasonable, because I did not even consider the fact. Especially because they live in California too. So these races are probably like the Disneyland ones. Like, I cannot imagine that being cheap for a student in their PhD program.
And maybe I'm sure, like I said, I'm not like a diehard racer. Like, no, there's probably discounts. There's probably ways to do it. But like, it just didn't, even if she had all the money in the world, she doesn't have the time.
Yeah. So, because that's the other thing. Because I know actual training regiments and shit is like a full-time job. But she already has 8 full-time jobs with everything she's doing.
It seemed like a token way to make Adam and Olive have something relatable.
Yeah. Which is funny too, because I don't think not that they didn't need it, but I thought it was kind of uncharacteristic of who they're trying to describe Adam being, that he would also be a runner, because he's described as like big and bulky, which, I mean, big and bulky people can be runners, but maybe not like like continuous marathon runners.
Yeah, he kind of strikes me as like a CrossFit guy.
Yeah, or lifting, or literally anything else.
Anything but that.
Yeah, maybe like rock climbing, or hiking, which I do think they say he likes hiking and stuff, but not for him to be like a runner. You know what I mean? Because they do have a conversation about the races that they've run recently. But it's like,
because what else are they going to talk about? Because there's like a nearly decade difference in their ages, and he's owns a house and a car and has a tenure, and she has roommates and lives off of Twinkies. Yeah. Okay, sorry. That was a longer gripe session than I intended it to be. Like,
that's fair.
We still like this book a lot.
Yeah. Because I will say, I did like this next part where Olive gets yelled at by one of her lab acquaintances.
God, he was such a dick.
Oh, I got so triggered by this, because I think that's something that Ali Hazelwood does well, and she kind of incorporates it in all of her books, like the contemporary romance ones, where the things that women have to deal with in STEM, where you have this random dude basically screaming at her for something that isn't her fault.
Like, it's completely irrational.
Yeah. So I didn't like it because, wow, triggering, and like, who hasn't been there? But also I liked it because 100% realistic for, some dude to
blame it all on a woman when it's her boyfriend.
Yeah. It's like, get fucked, bro.
Yeah. Because it goes down like she's working in a lab, and this dude comes in like, your fucking boyfriend like destroyed my work and is wasting all my time, and you need to fucking do something. But like, what is Olive going to do about it? Like,
this man is a grown-ass adult.
Yeah. I did not love Olive's reaction to this, though.
No.
This was
very like 12-year-old.
Yeah, a little childish. And so after this interaction happens, she texts Adam like, hey man, like, did you yell at my friend here? What, insert Brian, what's his fuck? And he's like, well, yeah, his work was dumb. And I told him it was dumb. And I was like, well, can you be less of an asshole about it? No. That is like the summation of their exchange.
Yep. Yeah. Because she also antagonistic and unapproachable.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that he brings this up throughout the rest of the book, because I 100% have things with my partner about that, where you say something when you're mad and it's not funny at the time, but then it becomes funny later, and then it's like, oh, well, I'm just antagonistic and unapproachable, aren't I? And it's like, can you shut up? That was 8 years ago. That's what I love, because like, she puts in these little realistic things that you 100% are like, I have done this before, I feel kind of bad about it, but it's just a cornerstone of my relationship now.
And that is all of it, Adam. So they do have this very cute bantership thing where like you said, he brings it up throughout and she brings it up throughout. It was kind of annoying the way he keeps calling her a smartass, because I didn't feel like she was that clever.
No.
No. Like, you're not that smart.
Yeah.
Like,
but I also kind of read it as like him being awkward and like not knowing a retort. Because have you ever been like talked to those people that are just way too suave for their own good, and it kind of makes you tongue tied where you're like, I don't know how to respond, so I'll just be like, oh, God, you're such a like a dumbass, or you're a smart ass. That's how I read this is going. Of like, she is totally confident in the banter, and he's like, you're hot and I don't know what to do.
Yeah, actually, if you flip the script, because that was the cool thing, is that this is written in third person, but you never get anyone's perspective except for Olive's.
Oh, that is true.
And so if you try to imagine what Adam is probably thinking, it's like, this 26-year-old hot girl is like flirting with me and I don't know what to say.
Especially when I think it's also because I've read this book so many times that I know the ending, so I can interpret all of these events with all of the knowledge that you get at the end.
Yeah.
Because I 100% read it as like, he's what is the word? I just think of the like cute, like kawaii,
like flustered.
Yeah, flustered. 100%. Because he cannot flirt.
Not at all. So she calls him out. So they have that text exchange, and she's like, basically, she says, fuck you, and like closes out the text exchange. Like, that's pretty ballsy for her when she's so anxiety ridden all the time. Yeah. And that is their extent of their interaction up until the department picnic.
I love the department picnic.
So basically, Olive goes to this picnic because there's free food.
Yep, same.
And Adam is there because he has to demonstrate to the department that he is not going anywhere and he's not a flight risk. So when Olive and Anne and Malcolm show up, they're like, food is picked over, and there is an ultimate frisbee game going on, being played by half-naked men, including Adam.
That there is.
What does Anne do?
Okay, so this was another one of those that I really related to Olive. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but you have those friends that are just kind of, not in a bad way, but they're lost in their own conception of the world and what they're doing, and they don't maybe treat you with the delicacy that you need if you're anxious and uncomfortable about things. Because Anne basically goes on this thing about sunscreen. And, you know, she's like, you need to be covered in sunscreen, and you need to be covered in sunscreen. And here's a whole entire fucking lake of sunscreen.
She like both hands in the bottle into Olive's hands.
Yep. And so Olive is like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with all this? Like, I have been in this situation so many times where you don't know how to say no. So then you're just like, I have to figure this out. And then Anne brings Adam over and she's like, have you put on any sunscreen? Olive has a bunch of extra. And Olive is like, can you fucking not? And then she's forced to rub sunscreen all over this large hot man, which I'm
not going to complain about.
100% not going to complain about. But the like trauma response that I got from this, like, here's all this sunscreen, figure out what to do with it. Like, I have been there so many times where it's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this now? And you're like covered in sunscreen, and then your hands are all gross, and then you're like, do I just drop it on the ground? But that's kind of gross too.
I think so. Seeing somebody like Olive who struggles to say no to people she loves and is close to, that as a trait, I think it seems to be a lot really common among women. Like, it's kind of trained in us culturally. I think for friendships, when you have a group of friends, so like Anne and Olive, it's highly, highly dependent on the friend who is not that way to recognize those traits in someone.
Yeah.
And like being able to read someone's expression, because that kind of person who can't say no is not going to be able to say that I feel uncomfortable, I can't say no. You have to learn their signals and learn how to read it. So I don't think I've ever frequently been and like felt that way, like felt pressured by someone in a sense where I don't feel comfortable saying no. Maybe occasionally, but not as like a ingrained thing. But I know, like, having seen you in various like work situations and like social situations, like I can look at you and be like, oh, she really doesn't want to do this, but she's not going to say anything about it. So it's like, it's on, I don't want to say the stronger person, but the more comfortable person to like champion people like that who feel that way.
I would love to get your impression of Anne, because it was hard reading about Anne and like knowing that Olive and Anne are friends, but I did not like Anne.
I didn't either. I didn't like her as a character.
No, I felt like she was just too wrapped up in her own stuff and not sufficiently aware of the feelings of the people around her.
If if she knew Olive well enough,
yeah,
this story wouldn't have worked.
exactly.
Because she would have known Olive didn't give a shit about Jeremy, and she would have known that Olive was faking this whole thing with Adam. So, like, your characterization of Anne as being wrapped up in her own world, 100% accurate. And also, like, is that really a true friendship? It felt like Malcolm was a better friend.
I 100% agree with that, because I feel like Malcolm was understanding of the whole thing and would try to kind of insert himself in between Anne's, like, whatever, like, you need to go rub lotion all over him. And Malcolm's like, let's maybe not do that, because you don't apparently know the full story.
Because Malcolm is read on to the setup between Adam and Olive.
Which is fun, because I think we missed that part, because it was kind of like a random scene thrown in, but Malcolm's like making food in their apartment that he shares with Olive. Malcolm is described as like a serial flirt. Like, he treats dating like an Olympic sport, I think is verbatim. And he had some kind of bad interaction with Dr. Carlson about some kind of something. He made him redo a bunch of research. So he had mad beef with Adam. And he kind of is mad at Olive. He's like, why the fuck are you dating this, like, bro dude scientist? Like, you can do so much better. Like, what the fuck? Because I even think he says, like, are you doing this for a green card? And she's like, what?
Oh, because we didn't touch on that. She's like an orphan from Canada.
Yeah. Which I love, because it's just an unnecessary thing, but it makes like a lot of funny situations happen. I don't even know really how it comes out, but basically Olive is like, it's not real. And Malcolm is like, what do you mean it's not real? And Olive is like, well, I kind of got myself into this little sticky situation. And he's like, you are fucking stupid, first of all. Second of all, there is no way this is going to work. And third of all, you're going to fall in love with him, because that's how this always happens. And she's like, no, I'm not.
Oh my God. There is some sort of line that it was, okay, keep going. I'm going to find it.
Okay. And so Malcolm is kind of, he gets like the secret read on to, you know, this secret plan that Olive is going under. Fancy, super secret spy stuff happening. And so Malcolm has been a little bit more supportive of all of Olive's awkward interactions. And it's funny, too, because you'll get scenes where he's watching this happen and you can tell he feels the secondhand sort of embarrassment for Olive of like, I know this isn't real. And I can only imagine what Olive is feeling as she's rubbing sunscreen all over her fake boyfriend.
So the scene where Malcolm is like, this is not going to work.
Oh, yeah.
This is one of the quotes that I highlighted because it's 100% Ali Hazelwood making fun of herself. Aww. So the quote from Malcolm is saying, nuh-uh, this is a Hallmark movie or a poorly written young adult novel that will not sell well.
Again, that's why I love Ali Hazelwood, because she's not pretending to be anything other than,
it was so good.
This is fake dating, would not happen, but you're going to love it. And I did. Oh, yeah. So Malcolm is the supportive best friend who also has a crush on Adam's friend, who we haven't talked about, Holden Rodriguez or something. He's some kind of other
professor, another hot professor just working this. Like, obviously we should have gone to Stanford.
No, apparently, because that's where all the hot doctors are that aren't, you know, dismissive to young women, because men are so much smarter than women. And oh my God, because that was kind of the other underlying annoyance with this book is like, I have never talked to someone that was in STEM that wasn't a total cunt. I mean that so genuinely too. Because I took a lot of advanced classes in high school and stuff, and I, you know, was smart, but I'm also Katie, you know who I am, bubbly, sometimes a little bit stupid, but I'm brain smart.
Stupid.
And so I would get talked down to all the time by men who thought they were smarter than me. And I'm like, homie, we are in the same class right now and we have the same grades. So don't talk to me that way. Now I would fight them. But then I was like, So that was crazy because nobody talks to anyone like that in this book. And I'm like, at Stanford?
Yeah.
Like,
I was at school training event thing for work very, very early on in my career. And I was sitting at a computer working on a program, and one of the instructors leaned over my shoulder and said, "Oh, Barbie, math is hard, isn't it?" Whoa. I was so angry and embarrassed and flustered. I couldn't respond. I was 20 years old. I'm like, I know this is wrong. Like, you shouldn't talk to me this way, but like,
the way my soul would have left my body if I heard that, because there are certain times, I don't know if you've felt this way, I have been on the cliff edge of committing a felony. Like where I have to restrain myself from like not verbally abusing someone when I hear things like that. Because, yeah, I have there have been a couple of times where, you know, the response happens and I just immediately think about the inside of a jail cell.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Because it was nice, though, because I don't want to experience more of that. And so it was nice that it wasn't in this book. But it was also kind of the underlying, this isn't that realistic because no one's, you know, telling Olive she's a fucking idiot because she's a woman.
Yeah.
Like,
well, we get that a little bit later.
We do, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Huh. Well.
Yeah. But so
sunscreen,
which I thought this was kind of weird because they never really address or resolve the really violent text exchange where she tells him to fuck off and then all of a sudden she's putting sunscreen on him and everything's okay.
Yeah. That was also a little bit kind of like, that feels like a big thing you guys should talk about.
Yeah. I didn't like that.
But I mean, I wouldn't want to have a conversation about it. It's like one of those, we'll just leave that in the past and move forward.
Yeah. Well, then they run into each other in the lab.
I love this scene.
My favorite scenes in the whole book. Because nothing happens.
But that's why it's so good.
It's so good. So she's working late. It's like 11 o'clock at night in the lab. She's working late because she's trying to finish her like paper setup stuff that she's going to give to Tom to justify her like going and working in his lab for a year. So she goes to the break room and she goes to the vending machine and there are no chips left that she wanted. And then she turns around.
Okay, no. Have you done this before? Because I 100% have done this. Where you're just like, it's late or you're tired and you're in your own head and you start saying things out loud that you maybe should have kept in your head and someone overhears you and you're like, trauma response? Because I think she says like, she orders a Twix and then she's like, I wish you were salt and vinegar chips. But she says it out loud. Like, I have 100% done that and had people respond to me and I'm like, you're here.
Yeah, because she thinks the break room's abandoned.
Yep.
It's not.
Nope. He's just sitting in a dark corner. And I think she even says.
And he's like in the corner eating the chips.
I think she even says, why are you eating chips alone in the dark? And he's like, the light doesn't work.
It was just such a perfectly normal, casual interaction. And she's like, well, you can have the rest of the chips. And so she walks over, they sit on the couch together, and they have this just great conversation about stuff.
Yeah.
Like she takes the rest of the chips, she offers him the Twix bar, and it's just feels warm and fuzzy. Like there's no physical stuff. They're just sitting next to each other.
Yeah, because these are the moments. It's been so long since I've dated or anything, but these are the moments I remember best from dating. Those cute, nothing is really going on, but you're just spending time.
You have butterflies.
Yeah. Oh, it's the best. And then it's interrupted, but that happens. I think they scare someone else who are like, why are you guys sitting alone in the dark? And they're like, the light doesn't work. You just got scared from that.
So I have a plug from this particular scene that I was like, oh my God, I know exactly what this is referencing.
Oh.
So they're talking about a movie, or maybe they could go see a movie. And they're trying to find a movie to watch together, I think. Maybe it's not necessarily from the scene, but it's like a similar scene. And she's like, well, no dead horse movies.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, oh, well, that's a weird stipulation, but okay. And then he says, well, this one's about a linguistics professor who's asked to help decipher an alien.
Yeah.
That is a fantastic fucking movie.
It's super good.
Do you remember what it's called?
I don't know, but Amy Adams is in it.
Yeah, it is such a great study in like linguistics. That's a Bruce Willis movie.
Oh.
Also about aliens.
Arrival.
Not
at all science.
Readers, if you are even remotely into like linguistics or alien sci-fi stuff.
Or smart women.
Yeah. Watch Arrival. It is phenomenal.
So good.
Yeah.
Is Pedro Pascal in it?
Maybe I'll watch it again.
Oh, no, not Pedro Pascal, but the other guy that looks vaguely like Pedro Pascal, but like the white version. He's in the Marvel movies, is the bow and arrow dude.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. I didn't know that he was in this.
He was like my teenage crush.
I get that.
In a weird way.
Yeah. Because he has kind of a weird face, but it's like it's the weird hot thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah. Wow, it has a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Anyway.
Good for you, Arrival. Yeah.
And good plug for Ali Hazelwood on a lesser known movie.
Also true. I also feel like there was some kind of weird background stuff they went through during this conversation. Oh, he was raised or born in the Netherlands.
Yeah, and his parents were diplomats.
Yeah, that was a fun little detail.
Yeah.
I also didn't know what an au pair was until quite recently.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't. No idea.
I want to say there was an ABC Family. Do you remember that TV channel back when there were TV channels?
Yeah.
Called like Au Pair or Au Pair 2. And it was about like a young woman who becomes an au pair and probably falls in love with like the dad or something.
I knew where that was going and I was still shocked when it happened.
I think that's roughly the plot line. But
100%.
Yeah.
It makes sense. But it also gives me the yuckies.
Mm-hmm.
Huh, yeah, au pairs. Didn't know. Yeah, it felt like a rich person
it's
thing.
A fancy nanny.
Yeah. Basically, like, why are they called au pairs?
Beats me. I didn't have one, so.
I did not either. Me and my macaroni, cheese, and hot dogs.
Yeah, Chef Boyardee.
Yep. Anyways, this next scene is the funny one because Olive is going over to Adam's house for some reason or another.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's to talk to Tom about something. But he comes up with his like biology ninja shirt on or something, or like mathletes. It's funny because the first time I read this, I was like, mathletes? Like, why do you have a t-shirt like that? And then I realized that I also have a t-shirt that said AP Stats on it, and I wore it non-ironically several times throughout my life.
No.
Comfortable.
Katie.
I think it had some kind of statistics joke on it about means. I could not. If you guys want to know, the degree of nerddom happening.
I'm a little embarrassed.
Yeah. So it was a little bit of one of those self-reflective moments where I'm laughing at Adam wearing this t-shirt when I have also done that.
It's super cute, this scene in particular, because Tom like invites Olive to Adam's house because Tom happens to be staying there. And like Olive hits Adam up and he's like, is it okay if I come to your house to like meet with Tom and everything? And he's like, yeah, but do you need a ride? There are no bike lanes or anything like that. And so very early in this book, he realizes that she gets around on her bicycle and he gets this like protective mode. Like,
I love this.
Like, why is that so hot? The fact that you're concerned that she's riding a bicycle. I just thought that was cute. And it like 100%. It's a reoccurring theme.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love that.
Yeah.
So she goes to Adam's house. He's wearing his awesome mathlete shirt.
And he is.
And basically she kind of gives Tom the breakdown of her experiment and her studies and everything. He's kind of like cryptic about whether he's sold on it or not until she's about ready to leave. He's like, oh, by the way, I'll see you next year in Harvard, at Harvard, whatever.
Whatever preposition there.
Yeah. And this was so relatable. She keeps it together. She's like, thank you for the opportunity. Walks out of the house with Adam and then does like a victory dance squeal thing like right on the front porch. Yep. And Adam is just watching this like thinking probably you're the cutest fucking thing on the planet. And then he takes her to Sushi Train.
Oh my God. There's so many cute moments in this that give you the giggles where you're like, I have done this. This is so cute.
Yeah. Olive is so relatable.
100%.
This is Sushi Train moment, right?
I think Sushi Train is later, but they do get some kind of food.
Because he takes her home in a Prius.
Right. Because that's the other part of this, that like a giant man is going to be driving a Prius.
I was going to say, like, I understand you're trying to like bring home the fact that he's an intellectual professor, but this man is not going to drive a Prius. He's not going to fit. Like,
no. Though I will say, we're not sponsored by Toyota or Priuses or anything, but I drove one for a little bit and they're pretty nice.
Yeah?
Yeah. Because you get a lot of gas mileage.
That's fair. Is this the same rental car that you left running in the parking lot?
Okay, so in my defense, yes, it is. But they're just so quiet. Yep, that I got distracted as I was leaving the car. And then I came back an hour later and it was still on. And I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, so if you have a Prius, or if you're thinking about getting a Prius, maybe...
They do look way better than they used to.
Oh, have you seen the new ones?
Mhm.
They're kind of good looking.
Mhm.
Yeah. Save the environment and look good doing it.
Yeah, and it's reliable, never die on you.
Well, yeah, because it can stay turned on in
Yeah.
the parking lot by itself and be fine for an hour.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then this is the point where Olive has an existential crisis and realizes that she has developed real feelings for her fake boyfriend.
Because, like, basically go on a real date after this whole, like, thing with Tom.
And she's like, oh no, he's hot.
I'm attracted to him. Also, I like him. Also, I love him. Oh my God.
Should we end it with how this happens? Because this scene, I ate the shit.
Oh, I know. Just do it.
Okay, so Olive has one of those panicky text messages with Malcolm, like, we need to meet right now. And he's like, well, I'm kind of in the middle of anything, but can we talk, like, later? And she's like, now. And he's like, okay, we'll meet at Starbucks.
I wish readers you could see Katie's face as she's describing. Have you seen The Mummy where where the mummy like dislocates his jaw to let... That's exactly what you just did.
That checks out. I'm going to get wrinkles probably in the next 3 to 4 business years because I use all of my facial muscles to talk. Anyway, they meet up at Starbucks, which why would you meet up at the place
on Wednesday?
Yeah,
at 9.
Where you're gonna have, later talk with the man. But basically, Olive is like, oh no, I have feelings for hot professor that I'm fake dating. And Malcolm is like, yeah, that's normally what happens in these rom-com fucking situations. And she's like, what do I do? And then she says something, I don't know the verbiage of it, but I like him a lot, but I can't tell him something. And Malcolm is kind of like frantically like whispering at her to shut the fuck up and stop talking.
Yeah, because she's going on and on about it. Like, oh my God, I love this man. What the fuck do I do?
But I can't do anything about it because he likes someone else. Because at some point, I think someone mentions that Adam has been hung up on some girl that he knew.
Oh, yeah. She thinks he's got this girl that he's been in love with for years.
Yeah. And so she is making all of these kind of statements that are not naming anyone, but very broad, alluding to the fact that she has feelings for someone that she probably shouldn't. And behind her is Adam.
Oh, no.
My heart broke because he like looks sad, kicked puppy. And he's like, oh, and Olive is like, I wasn't talking about you. And he's like, oh. And it's like, no, she is talking about you because you guys are in love.
Well, and this kind of plays into Adam being a little clueless and not as experienced as you might believe, because he just buys it.
Yeah. He's like, okay, well, we can cut this off if you want. And she's like, no. We should just keep going because you're funding money and it's not at all because I think you're hot and I want to climb you like a tree.
And he's like, well, that's fine. Let's get coffee and go, shall we? Yeah. It's so sad.
100% sad. Soul leaves body, depressed, crying in the shower. Because I feel like this is almost as bad as when you find out the person that you likes someone else. Or, well, I guess that is what happens to Adam.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
So
even more sad.
This is where, yes, we kind of revel in the sadness, but this is another suspend belief.
Yeah.
Because if this man is like 36 years old, and he's not like socially inept, he is going to understand. Like any adult man who's even remotely dated casually would be able to read Olive like a book.
Yeah. Because he just 100% takes this at face value and he's like, well, I guess the woman that I've been in love with for the past 10 years or however long they've known each other, I don't think 10 years, but I guess she loves someone else, but I'm just going to take what I can get. Bruh.
No.
Absolutely
no.
not.
So yeah, this is where we'll kind of wrap up part 2.
Yep.
There's
miscommunication.
And I'll have you know, we're like 2/3 of the way through the book. And we haven't had any kind of
smut. But when the smut comes, it's smut.
It's it's right there.
It's smut.
Yeah, so that's part 3.
Yep, smut.
Sorry. One more time for the readers, Katie.
Smut. It's the only thing going through my head. Like, it's one of those texts across the screen that's just smut, smut, smut,
Yep,
smut.
From our shelf to yours.
We'll see you on the next smut. Hi, readers. If you'd like to help us pick our next book, send us a message on Instagram.
Or if you'd like to just listen, we post new episodes every Monday and Wednesday on Spotify, Apple, and Amazon. Thanks for listening.
Bussin'.